tourism is big business, and especially in Central Florida and for the entire state. Because of the level of visitation each year, that represents a $92.5 billion, and that is with a B, economic impact. In the U.S., there hasn't been a new theme park in 25 years. So I think the world is going to be excited to experience Epic Universe.
Hi, everyone. It's Audrey DeLong back with you for a new episode of Experience Imagination. We were so happy to welcome Casandra Matej to the studio recently. She is the president and CEO of Visit Orlando, a not-for-profit trade association that brands, markets, and sells the Orlando destination to a global audience. We wanted to talk to Casandra for a few reasons. First, Epic Universe, Universal's new state-of-the-art theme park, just had its grand opening. This is a huge moment for the themed entertainment industry because it's the first major theme park to open in the U.S. in the last 24 years. And it's the first one to open during the age of social media. We were curious how Visit Orlando is marketing this new mega attraction, which will be very beneficial to both the local and national economies. Casandra is going to talk about how the opening of a new multi-billion-dollar theme park spurs economic development outside of its gate and how Visit Orlando markets the rest of the city's offerings. I'll also ask her a few questions about the experience economy, which is a term coined by Joe Pine II and James Gilmore. They wrote a seminal book about it called The Experience Economy: Work is Theater and Every Business a Stage. I just love that title. Our lightning round features Jaysa Ramirez, one of our dynamite media production coordinators. My conversation with Casandra Matej is just ahead. Okay, well, we are here with Casandra Matej from Visit Orlando. Good to have you here.
Oh, so glad to be here.
I want to start by applauding your team because, post-COVID, the numbers had gone down. Now we're kind of back up. And the recent number just came out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw this on a post. 75.3 million visitors in 2024, which is almost a 2% increase over the previous year. So bravo.
Thank you. Yeah, we're super excited that the visitation number continues to grow because, number one, it has a direct impact to our local economy. So, more visitors we have, the greater the impact it has on our local community. So, yes, we were able to announce that our 2024 visitation numbers was over that 75.3 million mark. But really where we saw the growth, right, we did see growth domestically, but it was the international that we actually saw a 5 to 6% growth, which means that, we still are a great choice from travelers from around the world.
That's amazing. Okay, so we'll get into how something like Epic Universe has a domino effect on local and also national economies. But first, tell me about your role at Visit Orlando and what the association does.
Visit Orlando is the official travel and tourism sales and marketing arm for all things Central Florida tourism related. I have the honor of serving as president and CEO, which really to try to drive that strategy so we do grow our visitation numbers for our region. But one of the things people may not realize from Visit Orlando is we also have services. We have complimentary planning services. So if people are saying, hey, I'm coming to Central Florida, I've been saving up for my big Orlando trip for the last year, can you help me with planning? And we actually have free visitor services. So I like to say we're a three-legged stool. We have sales, we have marketing and public relations, of course, and then we have our services.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
We talked about Orlando being the theme park capital of the world, obviously, but Central Florida, the whole region, and maybe you could talk about some of the other counties and some of the other offerings, but it's really jam-packed with fun offerings, right? So how do you go about marketing and selling this destination to both theme park fans and visitors who are maybe looking for something different?
Visit Orlando is actually the only entity that sells the entire destination. And so it's really important that we're part of that ecosystem and we're trying to drive knowledge about not only the theme parks, but everything beyond. And so we look at different audiences, such as those city breakers and what they're looking for. And a lot of the city breakers are looking for activities that they can do without children. And so, what comes to mind, of course, is our amazing culinary arts and culinary scene, as well as some of our, nightlife that we offer, as well as some of the ecotourism, as an example. So there is an event happening all year round, almost on every weekend, and it really does draw attention of our travelers. So, think about Camping World Stadium. They've been hosting now for the last couple of years some international soccer matches. Well, just this summer, we're going to have the opportunity of hosting FIFA Cup World Cup tournament. And for the first time, there will be international matches, both at Interco Stadium as well as Camping World Stadium. So, the sports angle is definitely hook for both international and domestic travelers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people just don't even realize how much is here. And you mentioned ecotourism, one of my favorites. And tourism in general, it brings in billions of dollars, right, to Central Florida. I don't know, can you give us a number, maybe 2023 or 2024 number?
You'll often hear me say, tourism is big business, and especially in Central Florida and for the entire state of Florida. In Central Florida alone, because of the level of visitation each year, that represents a $92.5 billion, and that is with a B, economic impact. But sometimes, that number is so large that it gets lost on people. So one of the things that I like to share is that because of the level of visitation we have in our community, it saves households $10,200 annually on taxes. And so that is something that you can really relate to, right?
Yeah.
That if all of a sudden the visitor economy went away, it would cost us as residents living here even more. And I can break that down because if you look at the sales tax as an example, we all, whether we're residents, visitors, they pay into sales tax because they stay at our hotels, they shop, they dine, they go to a lot of our variety of attractions. So they pay into sales tax. That represents 50% of all sales tax that's collected in our community. And then if you follow those dollars, that goes to our infrastructure, whether it's streets, that goes to public safety, fire and police, that goes to help build schools. And so it really is a community impact that the visitor economy offers to our community.
Yeah. Well, so don't honk at those out-of-state drivers, is what you're saying? Be nice to them?
I know. Sometimes we all get frustrated because there's moments in time that the traffic may be, a little congested.
Yeah.
But yes, we should be thanking those visitors.
And that's a big number, 50%. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, Florida doesn't have a state tax, so that's nice.
And that in
That's
part
probably why.
is because of the travel and tourism community around the state. You're exactly right. We're one of very few states that do not have a state income tax, and that is in part due to our visitor economy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's huge. I'm sure part of your job is eating at a new restaurant or checking out places before they open to the public. I'm going to be shocked if you answer no to this question. Have you been to Epic Universe?
Absolutely. We had the honor, my family and I, of previewing the new Epic Universe. And let me tell you, the name Epic certainly describes it. It is an absolutely amazing, immersive experience. There's 5 different worlds. And what I really appreciate is the design, because it's almost like each of the worlds have their own gate or portal into the world that you're going to experience. But when you talk about immersive and exactly what they were trying to accomplish, I think the world is going to be excited to experience Epic Universe.
Yeah. Oh, I've been. Yeah. I was able to go a couple times, and it's so technologically driven.
Yes.
We're going to get into I feel like it's the future of where theme parks are headed. Every attraction, every land is packed with it. And the theming alone is amazing.
Yes.
Part of your job is marketing a new theme park like Epic. So talk about what that entails and how closely, in this case, did you work with Universal on a campaign?
So working with our partners when there's a milestone, and especially something like an entirely new theme park, because in the U.S. there hasn't been a new theme park in 25 years. So this is really a milestone for the U.S. and for our own community. And so years ago, we started working with the Universal team on, what markets we wanted to touch, what international markets they may be in, and where we can augment. But I'll give you a great example how our partnership worked. So knowing that Universal is part of NBC, we started having dialogue months and months ago with the Today Show. And so while the Today Show is going to be here and have one live audience recording in the theme park, the very next day, Visit Orlando started working with them on setting up and showcasing all that's beyond the parks. And so we're very excited that the third hour on May 22nd is going to be about everything else that the destination offers. So we were able to take them down a journey of ecotourism. We were able to take them on a culinary arts scene, as well as introduce them to all the arts and culture that our region offers. So while the focus and the hook was Epic Universe, it gave us an opportunity of a partnership with the Today Show and really telling the complete story. And in fact, that second day is going to be in Winter Park, which is, as you know, part of our secret sauce of Central Florida is all of our unique neighborhoods.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. So what does having a new theme park of this nature, on this scale, on this level, mean to the local economy, the national economy, and things like job creation?
When I think about, at first people were like, how are they going to fill all the jobs, which is so exciting that there were so many jobs to fill. And I think part of the story, right, you look at the construction or even the pre-construction phase. I mean, I'm talking to the experts right here of the amount of people to take to design, and that impacted the entire country, right? There were jobs that were created all over the U.S. But then you look at with the hotels. I'll give an example, Lowe's Hotels, which, they've opened so far 3 properties that are part of Epic Universe. Well, they were able to take some of their team members that were ready for that next level of their career path and bring them over, and they received promotions. They are, starting their journey on a leadership job path, which I think is a really important part of this story. But there's thousands. I mean, I think there's over, 17,000 jobs that this one theme park is creating. But the other side of this is the economic development that's creating. Where Epic is located is along the International Drive corridor, right? So I-Drive, which is anchored by the Orange County Convention Center. So you have that. Well, it's also changing the hotels that surround the convention center, some of their type of business. So, they're going to start seeing a lot more leisure weekend business because of Epic. But it's also new conversations are happening about those properties expanding. So, for example, the Hyatt Regency Orlando, it was announced a few months ago, it was purchased by a new ownership, and there is a lot of land that is right near there that they're thinking about developing a Grand Hyatt. So projects like this spurs continual economic development, whether it's new hotels, new businesses. And so there is a huge impact, not to mention the property taxes, the sales taxes. There's going to be a bump for our state and for our region when it comes to local and statewide taxes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about I-Drive a little bit because, just to add a little bit to this for our out-of-town listeners, you mentioned the convention center. It's a huge tourist district, and it's been there a very, very long time. I've been in Orlando a long time, and I visited a lot of the places on I-Drive, and it kind of goes through dips, and then it goes up, and then there's valleys. But with Epic coming, it seems like a lot more companies are investing in that area. Do you think it's because of Epic and just meeting the growing demands of people who are looking for those in-person experiences, especially post-COVID?
I think Epic has a lot to do with it, especially when you're starting to see some of the entertainment areas reinvesting in itself, whether it's some of the nightlife and restaurants or even new restaurants popping up.
Yeah.
At pretty much parallel as this last year that Epic was coming to, the grand opening date, it was also announced that the Orange County Convention Center is going to go through an expansion.
Another one.
It is
It's
another
a
one.
huge convention center.
It is a huge convention center. We're the third largest, but yet the demand is there. And so we're going to be adding over 100,000 square foot ballroom to the north-south building, as well as about 44,000 square feet of meeting space, because the Orange County Convention Center is two buildings, the west building and then the north and south building. But what we were seeing is the demand is there in order to be able to accommodate our existing customers, as well as grow and be more flexible in order to stack business at the building. There was a need to expand. So I say that because there's a lot going on in the I-Drive, International Drive corridor, whether it's the convention center focused on the meetings and conventions or Epic. But the fact that Epic is located literally footsteps of the convention center, our meeting planners and meeting professionals are looking at Epic not only as a leisure theme park, but as an off-site venue. And so when Epic is ready and when Universal's ready, we've got a lot of customers that are like, we want to do buyouts of, various worlds that are within Epic Universe, or, and so we also look at it as an off-site venue.
Okay, yeah, totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
We've been talking about theme parks and other attractions, which are big players in the experience economy. What other things make up the experience economy?
When I think about Central Florida, I think there's a lot of immersive activities to experience. So mentioning the culinary arts, one of the things that is our pride point is we are now a Michelin Guide destination, and we have 59 recognized restaurants in Orlando alone. And we actually have our first 2-star Michelin restaurant that was just announced, Soracara, which is in Baldwin Park. And why I mention that is because it is truly a immersive culinary experience, right? And I do think a lot of our restaurants, they take that challenge on. And even if you're at a restaurant for dining, they want it to be an experience. And so you're seeing that throughout the culinary arts. The other, if you think about it, is in the sports. When you go to an Orlando Magic game, it is not just the basketball game. And I say that out of respect, but it's a full entertainment experience, as if you were really going to a show. Pre-game, during the game, and even post-game, there is entertainment that's happening. And that's important because there is actually a high percentage of international visitors and out-of-town visitors that go to each of the Orlando Magic games. So it does draw. Or think about the events such as EDC, where people are now immersing themselves. So we have some events like the EDC event that draws over hundreds of thousands of people, and people get dressed up, and they, are going to be part of this immersive music experience in downtown Orlando. So I do think it's when you see this kind of experiential offering, it's in every avenue that Orlando, because we are an entertainment mecca. And so I think it's in our nature to have this type of offering as a destination.
Yeah, I was reading recently that Orlando is becoming more of a, maybe not a capital, but more of a foodie destination.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy to think about, but it does make sense now with all the just world-class offerings that we have. Oh,
I would tell you we are a foodie destination. When people ask me, what is your favorite restaurant? It is really hard for me to answer that because, again, it depends on what neighborhood, what type of food I want. We have over 40 different international cuisines that are offered all throughout our destination, and we do them all very well. And, there's some local casual offerings, right? Like I think about Yellow Dog Eats. Very casual. You can bring your dog, you can listen to music, or you can have an experience like the California Grill on the Disney property where you're having fine dining and you're viewing the fireworks. And there's everything in between.
Okay, so how has the experience economy changed since social media has become such a big part of our lives?
Right. And I even think of the evolution of social media going from a post to video to now, where you literally can experience something live while it's happening. And so I think social media has been part of the planning, right? We know in Visit Orlando, we invest in that type of marketing in social media, various platforms, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, because I think there's a little bit of the real-time experience. And so I think social media, for a lot of reasons, have become and emerged into something that most companies, and especially destinations like Visit Orlando type of organizations, we've got to be a part of, because it really has become such the expert and the trusted content in a lot of ways for people to experience a destination.
Yeah, people tell me sometimes, like, now people don't want to be sold to, or not overtly sold to. They want something that seems authentic or genuine. And is that why you reached out to content creators for Visit Orlando?
That's exactly right. Because number one, they may have a variety of audience that we may not touch in our robust marketing efforts or our traditional marketing efforts. So I think it gives us a voice to a variety of audiences. But I do think it goes back to that authenticity, because they're experiencing it and they're really recording as they're enjoying the destination, so people can see. And then I will also tell you, it also highlights the non-known entities, whether it's like the unique food at a certain restaurant that maybe you should try. And so I do think social media is also a platform where we can even tell more stories about more assets that a destination has and really help the small businesses that are in our community.
Oh, yeah, very true, too. Yeah, because we think of content creators as theme parks and themed attractions. It could be a lot of different things.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
All right, so speaking of social media, I know a lot of younger people tend to be on social media, but I kind of want to get your take, because I read this recently. Gen Zers and millennials, they often say that they'd prefer to spend money on experiences rather than possessions. So I'm Gen X. I kind of feel the same way. I wouldn't consider myself a minimalist, but I tend to gravitate toward having an experience with my friends and family as opposed to like buying something shiny and new other than my car, which a lot of people here, they're tired of me talking about my electric vehicle. But anyway, what is your understanding of why younger people are gravitating toward these experiences rather than buying things?
Well, and I do think it's very cyclical, but when I think about the younger generation, and by the way, I'm Gen X too, so although I think I have some millennial tendencies, but I am definitely Gen X. But when I think about that, like, I think about COVID and the pandemic, and at that given moment, especially for the younger generations, they lost a lot of their freedom, right? Or we were restricted. And so I do think that does play into wanting to experience the world. So I think it's a mixture of being so restricted during that phase of time that there was pent-up demand and there was really an opportunity to enjoy. I even think the older generation, and I know for me, as my kids get older, getting out of the house, I'm like, let's downsize, because I'm all more about the experiences. And I even think there are boomers that are that way. So I think it's a phase in our lives too, but I really appreciate that about the younger generations.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Let me get your take on the technology trends from recent years. What have people glommed onto in companies? And how does it add value and even satisfaction to experiential offerings?
I'll take the theme park. And of course, what was interesting is before the pandemic, the QR code went away. Like it was almost like this dying breed of technology. And now it is so popular. Everybody uses it. It's easy to do. But, why? Why is that technology well received? Is it creates efficiency. So if you think about theme parks, you can pre-order food now. You can pre-order your place in line for an attraction. And so, it makes your experience better. So I think as we evolve, it's what is going to make our overall experience better as well as more efficient. And, when you're with a family and you've got kids, that are toddlers or very young, having that type of efficiency goes a long way. So, I think some of that type of technology. I also think virtual tours of things and virtual experiences. Right. At Visit Orlando, we took the opportunity to educate the world when we couldn't necessarily travel to create different types of tours, not only like hotels, but now attractions. And so people really can get a 360 view of a destination, and especially at Orlando, and try to test it out a little bit and learn a little bit more. And so that makes them excited too. And it gives, in a family's case, they can experience something and get the whole family excited beforehand. So I think there are going to be tools that are ever evolving. AI has been explosive, and even though it has been around for a very long time, but the way we're using it now, for us in an organization like Visit Orlando, how to integrate it in planning a trip component and making sure that the information is correct and making sure we have robust information all across our destination. So as that type of technology generates thoughts and ideas, that it is user-friendly.
Yeah.
I know right now we're looking at involving more and more AI on our website, as an example, to really help with that pre-planning experience. And, now what's so great is you can get cost comparisons. You can do so much with some of the travel planning tools. And so that's how we're kind of using it.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, I feel like it's customizing my experience, making it feel like somehow my visit is unique.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think that's probably the future, right? That
we
know what you like, and I'm going to create an itinerary and an experience just for you based on all your likes and dislikes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's talk about the future of the experience economy. Where do you see it going?
I think it's going to be where it's so hyper personalized. Like whether it's you as an individual or you as your family, I think because technology is moving so fast and we already have a lot of that personalization there, but that's where I think it's going to go, is personalizing somebody's experience. So, I don't know, you all as a company, y'all dream a lot bigger and create those experiences. But I think there's going to be a way where you could almost walk up to a line queue and they're going to know who you are and welcome you to the ride, as an example. Or, like I'll give a great example, Guardians of the Galaxy in Epcot, has different music. Well, they may know what your favorite song is that they're going to do. So that's part of the next level of value that we want.
Very interesting. All right. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you being on. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
And now it's time for our lightning round, where I have a quick conversation with one of our Falcons. Today, I'm speaking with Jaysa Ramirez. Hi, Jaysa.
Hello.
What do you do at Falcons, real quick?
I'm a production coordinator on the media team.
First question, what is your favorite theme park ride or attraction?
The thing that comes to mind is Pirates of the Caribbean.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know why I find that ride so delightful. There's something new to look at every time that you're on it. It feels timeless in a way that is really fun.
When you want to have a good time in Orlando, what's your go-to spot or spots?
The thrift stores, maybe. Because we have so many attractions here, there's already so many weird things that you'll find at the thrift stores in Orlando. Especially, there's so many Disney things to find and unusual T-shirts from old concerts and things like that. So I like going there and just window shopping and looking around.
Do you buy anything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I want to make sure that you're getting your value out of that trip. Okay. Do you speak any other languages?
Yes, I speak Spanish, and then I'm currently learning to speak Portuguese.
Oh, nice. All right. What was the last concert you went to?
It's an artist called Baby No Money, and he was in cosplay for the whole concert dressed as Sonic the Hedgehog, which was
Okay.
Fun.
Interesting choice.
He's an internet rapper.
Oh, that's why I don't know who he is. Okay. What is your favorite dish to make?
I would say Puerto Rican albondigas, like meatballs with rice. I think it's just really satisfying and easy, and it's like Play-Doh when you're making the meatballs. That's my favorite part.
Were you born in Puerto Rico? All right. What do you like to collect?
Earrings, funky earrings. I'm wearing some right now, if you want to hear on the mic.
Jingle jangle. Yeah, I see him. What's the animal on that?
It's an alien abducting a little cow.
Okay. I like that. Final question, Jaysa. This one might throw you for a loop a little bit.
Okay.
Which of these apex predators would you rather be? Polar bear, tiger, wolf, T-Rex, or orca?
Oh, orca.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
Because orcas are smart, so I would like to be that. And also the power and the social aspect of the orcas, I think that that's something that has always interested me.
Very good. All right, well, thanks, Jaysa.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you listening to this episode of Experience Imagination. Thanks again to the amazing Casandra Matej from Visit Orlando for sharing all of her insight. There's a lot of great information at visitorlando.com, so be sure to check that out. And Jaysa, thanks for answering my lightning round questions. See you next month for an all-new episode. Thank you for listening to Experience Imagination, a Falcons Creative Group production. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Be sure to check out falconscreativegroup.com and follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you have ideas for future episodes or just want to drop us a message, send an email to podcast@falconscreativegroup.com.